Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. It is Wednesday. I hope you are all enjoying your week. We're halfway through to the weekend roll on Saturday. Plenty to talk about today. I want to talk about Bukayo Saka and a very interesting report that has come out that has valued him as the third most valuable player in the world, which says a lot about how important it was to get him tied down to that long-term contract. We'll talk about some comments from Matt Turner. We'll have a little bit of chat about Declan Rice, Charlie Patino, and I'm going to end with some sort of questions stroke comments that some of you have been leaving in the comments section from yesterday's video. I'll give my thoughts on a few of that. Something I'm going to start doing now on these videos at the end, just go through a few of your questions that you've sent in or opinions on what I've talked about, and we'll go over and have a little bit of a debate on what that has to say. So thank you very much for the comments that you left yesterday. I've been trying to reply to plenty of them. That's something I'm going to try and do more and more now as I try and build up this channel and branch out and do different things. So I really want to try and get you guys more involved than perhaps I have done so far. So let's quickly start talking about Bukayo Saka, shall we? Now, I don't know if you've seen this report, but the CIES Football Observatory always push out these sort of reports in terms of player value and things like that. You know, they explore the finances behind football. And they put out their latest report valuing the most expensive footballers basically on the planet, and no surprise that Erling Haaland is number one, valued at £210 million by CIES. Vinicius is second at £168.5 million, but Bukayo Saka is third, just £500,000 behind Vinicius at £168 million. That's ahead of people like Mbappe's 140 million. You got Bellingham 163, Rodrigo 159, and it's all kind of the way they've worked it out. It's all to do with like contract length, age, goals, assists, that sort of stuff, appearances for your national team. So I've crunched all the numbers, and that's how it has all come out. And I think they're pretty fair. I mean, obviously, if Mbappe was tied down to a 6-year deal, 5-year deal at PSG, it'd be worth a hell of a lot more than £140 million. But I think what this does show is just that value of getting Saka tied down to that contract when you've got a player as valuable as that. There are other players, Arsenal players included in this list. I can't remember. I think Martinelli was second, then Odegaard was third in terms of Arsenal players. Can't remember exactly how much they were valued at. But you know, it just shows how important it is getting these players signed down to long-term contracts. I'm sure if Saliba was tied down to a long-term deal rather than just the 1 year he's got left, he'd be well high up there in the list as well, considering his age and all that. And you know, Saka was such an important piece of business for Arsenal to do on so many levels, on footballing terms, obviously, because of what he produces on the pitch week in, week out, the goals he scores, the goals he sets up, the leadership he already shows in this team, despite still being just 21, which sounds remarkable. So just he is 21, considering everything he's done in his career already, Bukayo Saka. But just, you know, he's the poster boy of Arsenal. He's the face of Arsenal. The commercial possibilities are endless with Bukayo Saka. Everyone loves him. You're looking at him at the moment. He's over in Nigeria doing brilliant stuff over there. He's just a fabulous person, fabulous footballer. And, you know, for Arsenal, it was such a vitally important piece of business to get done, because everyone in the world would have wanted him. Every single top club would have wanted him. When you look at that, when you look at what he's worth, what he's being valued at now, you know, no clubs aren't stupid. They see what he brings on and off the pitch, and they would have been queuing up, banging the door down of his agent, saying, "Look, what's going on?" So for Arsenal, it was such an important piece of business to get done, and yeah, that's a lot of people looking at the contract length, going, only 4 years. It's still 4 years. It still keeps Saka at Arsenal potentially for another 4 years. Yes, you're going to have to renegotiate a couple of years down the line, but even so, there is nothing bad about getting Saka to sign a 4-year contract. It was so vitally important, and it's done. And this shows the value of him as a player. He is the third most valuable player in world football right now, according to this report. Okay, Matt Turner's been speaking. He's over with the US at the moment alongside Flo Balogun, of course, and Austin Trusty as well. 3 Arsenal players for the US national team at the moment. He's been speaking about his first season at Arsenal. He said, "It's changed me. It's made me a better goalkeeper, better person, a better player. Besides the on-field stuff, off the field, moving to a new country, experiencing new cultures and new styles of play, a new manager with different expectations, playing with pressure, and all that kind of stuff led me into the World Cup and having a great World Cup. The season was amazing at Arsenal. I learned so much and we won games, but I would like to have played a little bit more. On the personal side, I didn't hit as many goals as I would have really liked to. It's going to be interesting what happens with Matt Turner, really. He is an international number one goalkeeper. We saw what he did in the World Cup. He was very, very good for the States. He had a really good tournament. But how long will he stay number one when he's not playing for Arsenal? I thought it was quite telling that when the Europa League started up again, he had one game away at Sporting Lisbon. Then for the home game, it was Ramsdale who came back in. It's Champions League next season. I can't see Turner's going to be starting in the Champions League. I just don't see Mikel Arteta doing that. I think it will be Ramsdale. So where does Turner play? He plays in the Carabao Cup, depending how far Arsenal get. And then what? You have to wait till January for the FA Cup to start up. Will he even play in that? So it's going to be interesting. He's a big Arsenal fan, Matt Turner. It was his absolute dream to come here. He's done that. But how long can you sort of stick that out and ride that sort of emotional tie out? It'll be interesting. I think Arsenal would not want to lose Matt Turner yet. They wouldn't really want to have to, this summer, on top of everything else they've got to do, sign another backup goalkeeper. But if you're Matt Turner and you're looking at your possibilities, your opportunities at Arsenal this season with Champions League football now on the table rather than Europa League football, there's not many there, is there? I don't really see it unless Ramsdale plays him. Unless Arteta plays Turner in the Champions League group stages. He's just not going to play many minutes. Before January, unless Ramsdale gets injured, you're basically looking at a couple of Carabao Cup games for a international number one goalkeeper to try and keep his place as number one for his country. Difficult one. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Turner does there. Obviously, big night for West Ham tonight. Big night for Declan Rice. They're in the Conference League final against Fiorentina over in Prague. Been lots of talk ahead of that game from West Ham. The importance of it is huge for them. I really hope they win. I said that yesterday. I've got a bit of a soft spot for West Ham out of all the London clubs. Never want Chelsea to win, never want Tottenham to win anything, but West Ham, not really too bothered. I wouldn't begrudge them winning that trophy at all. And obviously then we're going to have to see exactly how quickly things progress once that's out of the way with Declan Rice and his future. But I expect, as I said yesterday, it's going to really start to move on as soon as that game's out of the way. Charlie Patino, I've had a few questions about Charlie and what's going on with him. My understanding, nothing really yet has been sort of set in motion in terms of being very close to a move. Everyone's still working, the club's still working, his representatives still working to try and find the best kind of solution for Charlie this summer in terms of where he goes next. Lots of clubs interested, clubs from England, clubs from abroad, Germany, France, I believe, but nothing's kind of been whittled down yet. So it's a case of just waiting and seeing with Charlie as the summer progresses in terms of where he goes and when it happens. But yeah, that's the latest I can give you on Charlie Patino. Okay, now, so let's talk a little bit about what you guys have been asking or what you've been saying in the comments section. I'm just going to take a few each day from them to talk about. I will be, as summer goes on, I'm going to be doing a lot more sort of live Q&As. I'll keep doing this show in the morning, just going over the latest news, sort of the headlines of what people are talking about in the morning, but then, later on in the day, things like that, maybe in the evenings, I'll try and do a lot more Q&As, getting you guys properly involved in it all. But for now, here's some of the comments and questions that you've been leaving. Jason yesterday in the comments, replying to what I was saying about Ivan Fresnada, said if Fresnada's such a wonder kid, then Valladolid wouldn't have been relegated, which I think is a little bit harsh, Jason. I have to say, I'm not sure an 18-year-old fullback can do much to stop a team going down. I think obviously it's 11 players in the team, and I can't really imagine that having a Fresnada in the team is going to stop that if no one else performs. There's countless examples of top players being in sides that got relegated. Look at Jack Grealish just a few years ago of Aston Villa. I think he was captain at that point for Villa, and they got relegated with him in the side. He stuck it out in the Championship, came back up, and earned himself a £100 million move to Manchester City. So, Grealish was in that side. He was a heartbeat of the side. He wasn't a fullback. He was in midfield, and yet he couldn't stop Villa going down this season. Like I said, there's been loads and loads of examples of that. Think of the Middlesbrough sides back in the day. You had Juninho playing from the great Brazilian Juninho, and he couldn't stop Middlesbrough going down. There's loads of them. So I think it's a little bit harsh to really sort of critique Fresnada for stopping Valladolid going down. Stan Adams says the Declan Rice situation is very simple. Just pay West Ham the £100 million they are asking. Arteta has done a fantastic job so far. Now the next step of the process is to aim to topple Man City in the next 2 seasons. In the past 2 seasons, Arsenal have made some terrific decisions with the players they have signed, but now it is crunch time. Man City paid £100 million for Grealish, and look what he has brought to City. Mahrez sits on the bench most weeks. That's how good he is, and no one ever mentions what he costs. I couldn't agree with you more, to be honest. In this situation, I think you've identified Declan Rice as your priority target, then you go and sign Declan Rice as your priority target this summer. You pay what it costs. You can't expect to get Declan Rice on the cheap. If he's the player you really want, there's no way you can do this amount of planning and then expect to get him on the cheap. It's just not going to happen. You have to be fully committed to get this deal done if you're Arsenal, in my opinion. You know, you've put the time in, you've put the hours in, you've got a lot of work done. You can't really haggle over a few £1,000,000. You know you are going to have to break the bank to sign Declan Rice. You know you're going to have to smash your transfer record out of the park to sign Declan Rice. So you just do it. He's the player you want. He's the player you believe absolutely transform your midfield and take you to the next level. And you can't squabble over £10 million, I'm afraid. You have to get this done. And for Arsenal, I think it is absolutely vitally important that they do it. It would be a real hammer blow if they missed out. And I just don't see any way you don't pay the money in this situation just because you've got this far down the road for a player like Declan Rice. You can't complain about what money the other club are really valuing. He's their captain. He's an England international. He's 24. He's still got a couple of years left on his contract when you factor in the option. So, you know, he's worth what they're demanding, basically. He's worth so much to West Ham commercially on so many levels that, you know, you can't... I don't see that you can do a sort of Mudryk situation. Mudryk was a sort of development type player, which was... So you can understand, you know, you're not signing the full article there with Mudryk. You're signing someone from Ukraine who's never played in the top league before. You can understand if the money gets too much and Chelsea are offering crazy money, you think, hold on, we're not going to go there for that player who's not proven and all that. I can understand that. Declan Rice, we're talking about a completely different player. You're talking about a proven Premier League player, a club captain, an England international, and, you know, he's just ready to go. So you pay the money, basically. I think it would be a real hammer blow if Arsenal mess this one up by lowballing West Ham and letting others sort of get in ahead of them in the race for him. So thank you for that, Stan. John Scarrett says, people keep looking at the past, basing their opinions and expectations on past transfer windows. That is where the pessimism takes over. Sorry, I was going to laugh now I said that. That is where the pessimism takes over. If people take a few steps back and look at the bigger picture, they'd see Arsenal is a very different and massively improved position to attract and afford multiple high-profile players. Years past, looking at 8th and Europa League, now looking at Champions League and competing with City for the Premier League. I know which version of Arsenal is most attractive to £100 million players. Edu's job is made much easier. Players like Rice and Caicedo should be camping outside his front door waiting for a contract. And you're right, John, absolutely right. Arsenal now are in, when it comes to transfers, when it comes to convincing players to sign, are in just massively improved position to what they were just a couple of years ago. They are very, very attractive. They're in London. They're a Champions League club. They've got one of the best young managers in the world who players want to play for. You've got a brilliant young team with the likes of Saka, Odegaard, Martinelli, Saliba, hopefully, fingers crossed. All those type of players. Players want to come here. Players want to play. Players saw the atmosphere, heard the atmosphere at the Emirates, what it was like last season. They want to play here. And that's why Declan Rice is very willing to join Arsenal this summer. That's why they are so appealing to him. A couple of years ago, they wouldn't even had a chance to sign Declan Rice. So I'm with you, John. Look, I'm not pessimistic when it comes to this transfer window. I'm very, very excited about this transfer window. It's going to be difficult because so many other clubs are involved in signing these sort of players. When you're shopping in the kind of department that Arsenal are now shopping in for players that are going to really take the club up to another level, then they're very hard to actually sign because the top clubs are all competing for those players, so they're difficult. But Arsenal are in a really good position. They're a really attractive proposition to players now, and I agree 100%. I think we shouldn't be pessimistic at this transfer window. We should be excited about what potentially could happen. So thanks for that, John. Finally, the Onyx Lens says, I really don't get why everyone ignores the fact that Smith Rowe and Tierney are never fit. Yeah, they had a string of good health this year, but that's because they didn't play. Can't trust them. Little bit harsh, I think, the Onyx sense. I kind of agree with Tierney because we've seen, consistently he's never fit or he struggles to be fit. But I don't think you can just ignore the fact that this season they were pretty much injury free. Obviously, Smith Rowe had his big injury, but when he came back, he stayed and he was around. He trained really hard every single day, every single week, and he didn't get injured. Yes, he didn't play, but he was still really sort of pushing himself at elite level, and he didn't get injured. And from what I understand, he was absolutely pain free. All of Smith Rowe's injuries in the last few years were linked to that groin issue that he finally had the operation for at the start of the season. He had that operation, he's come back, and since then he's been 100% pain free and very, very fit, according to what I understand from people close to him. And so, I think that, yes, he had a lot of injury issues, but it was down to that one issue. That has now been sorted because of the operation, and since then he's been clear. So I think it's a little bit harsh to sort of tar him in that brush. We'll have to wait and see, obviously, next season, if he does get game time, how he stands up to that. Tierney, I can kind of agree because we've seen it happen at Celtic, it's happened at Arsenal, so it is hard to trust Tierney would be able to have a big, long run in the side because of the injury issues, because he tends to break down with muscle problems. We know that. So I can kind of get it with Tierney, but I'm not sure about Smith Rowe yet. I think we'll have to wait and see and really judge Smith Rowe once he had a proper run in the team, having finally had that operation that he did at the start of this last season. Sorry. All right, that's it from me. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Appreciate your time as always. I'll be back tomorrow. Until then, have a very good day. Enjoy the football if you're watching West Ham tonight, and I'll speak to you soon.